COVID-19 got me 6 feet distance. We been yelling back up. Nigga, what they mention? See that? Look, listen, coming up your street, red line, busting distance, beat roaring loud like a fire in the kitchen. COVID-19 got me 6 feet distance. We been yelling back up. Nigga, what's the difference? One way, and all to be honorably mentioned. See it in my eyes, compromised in my visage, vision. Brainwashed out like dishes, taking out the mafia and the 3 6s. Number of a man and the sons of position. Trying to pay the piper for this Spanish Inquisition. Trying to give a lynching, sinners of detention. Bills for the cotton, crack they had us picking. All in the name of a nation claiming Christian. The Lord has an army and the generals enlisted. If you can read the times of what you lack is intuition, I'm still trapped in the valley of detention. This is not a private interpretation. They lies and perpetrate. Down reverbination. They're finding our reparations and swiping our education. They cry about escalations and cry when you hesitate and decline. Celebration is smart like balance of 69 for coincidence is designed. And they feel like finish rhyme and face with the get a spot of my industry with a love with us and we get a prize of defensive the shot time rate answer with a silent chance on the decline. I'm ready and looking prime and the energy cross the line. My enemy wanna shine, we got boosted and full of line. My niggas get the same vibe, you been drinking coke 45. Coke leader, damn it, I'm a coke leader. I don't smoke weed or sell coke either. Rapping by the soul reader, I just need a dope reader. Call me NBA young boy, I never be broke either. I don't sell crack or snort coke either. Damn it, I'm a coke leader. Choke till they croak, cause they spoke up. They cotton crow feeder, no keeper. Stand tall as a cedar, AC for the cedar. My demeanor, blow the tweeters out your speakers. Thank God I'm not a strain from the moon like your boy Joe Biden said. Okay, to the doom, as well as long as the twisted depression. Crushing, boom, with massive caliber, that's sucker move. Bust through the barrier, reach to the area. Y'all got interior, y'all bone carrier. Cover Mississippi, one West barrier. Still what I carry ya, shield on malaria. Thicker than a picture hung carrier. Don't let the signs of the time bury ya. Motherfucker stereo, government carrier. California chariot, the delegate from Judah is the ruler of the future, not a serious. The truth is a bad bitch, of course a nigga period. King David covering up the letterman of all of these heresies. I.S.U.P.K. Cause it's legal, like why you playing a role like he ain't even go to free before you end up with the palsy. Let him have it falsely, at least in the kingdom act softly. Act falsely, that's costly. Kissing hands, no hands, nigga act falsely. Remember act lousy, she didn't have to tell him, got my ass beat for belly running to my cerebellum. Been the prophet, never This ain't the white man's world, it's iconoclast. I don't want a white man's girl, that's my kind of anthem. Yes, I'm a priest and prophet of the Lord, cutting slices, scripts like sword. Wonder why I get so hardcore? Well, I kind of answer. This ain't the white man's world, it's iconoclast. I don't want a white man's girl, that's my kind of anthem. Yes, I'm a priest and prophet of the Lord, cutting slices, scripts like sword. Wonder why I get so hardcore? Well, I kind of answer. My main thing, like a private dance. To a thing I ain't gotta ask it. I'm in stone, sometimes jazz. Holy Spirit just trying to cast without a price tag or a prime factor. I apply the rap to give life right after. Nigga dabble from head to toe. Mediator of the low one west coast. No eggs and toast at the front stop. To the shepherd, I die for the front. Think just like a cot. I drive with the Glock. My rise to the top. I chill in the job. Kindle in the fire. And the cold sale. No coin tail. Pro joke for sale though. Alpha milk coat. Steel toe boots. And a adulterated truth. Never make it with the group. Don't get two piece off that. I love Lucy, you say listen. Don't lie like you say only to find out you goofy. Really, really face of the true king. Lucy, out of the sun, it's not a new thing. Project Bluefin, you heard about the wrong shit. Drums made for proofing. Fake way, Susanna. Spin the colors like a new brand. Ladies sing the blues, music, wash away the devil is a true blend. Blacks, Latinos, and natives stop marching, start moving. Principles of power, no cowards. We shower you with manna from heaven. This wedding, you keep forgetting. Armageddon, no tears gon' be shedding. This ain't the white man's world, it's iconoclast. I don't want a white man's girl, that's my kind of anthem. Yes, I'm a priest and prophet of the Lord, cutting slices, scripts like sword. Wonder why I get so hardcore? Well, I kind of answer. This ain't the white man's world, it's iconoclast. I don't want a white man's girl, that's my kind of anthem. Yes, I'm a priest and prophet of the Lord, cutting slices, scripts like sword. Wonder why I get so hardcore? Well, I kind of answer. Like the bitch, no much the barrel. The white man, the devil, yeah, they put us in ghetto. I got crack in my neighborhood, infested with heroin. Cause they kill us every day. We living with terrorists. Only way to lift this curse if we keep the commandments. Church don't teach a nigga shit. They just singing and dancing. Or West, U.P.K, you gon' leave us some answers. But your pastor like Sway, he don't got the answers. Police got body cam to still kill you on camera. Snatch you out the car and beat you right in front of your family. Been a war scar, black boots in my camo. America about to fall. Ain't the city can land on. It's the dedications, menorah and candles. I never drop my sword. It's a glorious battle. We'll take over your city. Yeah, there's one body under Christ. Prepare slaughter for their children. Cause somebody gotta die.
Shalom Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Baruch to all the brothers. Shalom Yahweh Shamar Arafan Hashem Yahshua to all the sisters. I'm Officer 500 Zabaja of the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA. Started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Right? We teach that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites of the Bible. Right? A culture they beat out of us. Right? Give a quick shout out to the chat. Shout out to Born Star, Princess Sarah Israel, the water for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Right, we're going to continue where we left off last week. The history of Susanna. Right, this is the part 2. We're going to continue. If you are watching, hit that sign-in link. Don't forget Blackwatch News. Blackwatch space.news, blackwatch.news, right? This is the website, Blackwatch News tonight, 9 p.m. live. Commanding General YAHANNA and the heavy hitters will be going live, right? If you're watching, share this video, like, subscribe to the channel, share this video to the whole world, to your friends, to your family members, right? We're going to be going in on a part of history and a righteous sister, right? A lot of times you hear that there are no stories of sisters in the Bible. That's from someone unlearned, right? Someone who doesn't know the Bible will tell you that there are no stories of the sisters in the Bible, right? Well, we got many stories of great sisters in the Bible, right? We got Esther for Purim, right? We're gonna go into Susanna, right? And we're gonna go into the courage that she had. Susanna had courage in a hard situation, right? A lot of times our sisters are faced with hard situations, and it might seem like there's no one protecting them, right? But the ISUPK is here to protect all our sisters, all our daughters, all our nieces, right? All our mothers and our grandmothers, our aunties, right? That's what we're here to do. We're here to uplift these sisters and protect them and show them the righteous, moral way to be a virtuous sister, right? So we're gonna go in. So a little backtrack. This is the history of Susanna. Susanna was married to a wealthy brother, Joachim, right? She was a very attractive sister, and one day she was bathing in her garden, right? Back in the day, we didn't have showers like how like you go into your room, you go into your apartment right now or your house or whatever have you, and you could just walk into the washroom and take a shower. Back in the day when we were in our kingdom, you would go to a river, you would have a pool in your on your property, right? And you would take a shower that way. You would take a bath that way, right? We taught the whole world how to be clean, how to take baths and showers, right? So Susanna, she was taking a bath in the pool. Her servants were outside, but there were two unrighteous judges, right? These men, they had power, right? They had power, and they had authority, right? And they were very lustful over this sister, right? It's wrong to be lustful over a sister that is not that has a husband, right? Now you can see a sister walking down the street and be like, she's pretty, right? She's amazingly beautiful. I wonder what her name is. Your first thought should be, does she have a husband? And that should be your first thought. If I ever see a beautiful sister walking down the street and I want to court her, I have to wonder, does she have a husband? That's usually my second question after, Miss, may I know your name? Right? Do you have a husband? And that depends on the situation. In the ISUPK, you don't just go up to the sisters and just ask them if they have a husband. We have structure, right? You got to go to your camp leader and ask, does this sister have a husband? He'll let you know. Yeah, yeah, she got a husband. She offering it. No sweat, sir. That's about it, right? She doesn't have a husband. You gotta ask, is she available to be courted? May I get to know her, right? You gotta go to her camp leader or ask your camp leader to go to her camp leader, right? And that's how things are done righteously, right? But these judges, hey, Shalom, how about Shem Yahshua,
Shalom, Yahba, Shem Shabbat.
right? We're going back into the history of Susanna. We're gonna wrap it up, right? So as I was saying, you see a sister, you gotta ask, does she have a husband? That should be your first question. That should be on your mind, right? You want to find out, is this one of my brother's ribs, right? Once you find out she doesn't have a head over her, she doesn't have a husband, you go to your camp leader and you ask, may I court this sister? Is she available to court? Your camp leader might tell you, she's still doing her 90 days and her 6 months. You got to let her get rid of the world first before you could try to court her, right? That's what a righteous brother does. A unrighteous brother is going to do what we're reading about now. Where these two judges, they sat and they lusted and they let their wicked imagination get the best of them, right? They let their wicked imagination devise them to do wickedness, right? To set up this sister to damn near be killed, right? In our kingdom, if a sister or a brother was guilty of being an adulterer or an adulteress, it was death, right? They wanted to sleep with this sister, and they told her, if you don't sleep with us, we're gonna scream out and make it seem like you were being an adulterous, evil woman, right? This sister had courage. She said, for real? She said, really? That's what you're gonna do to me? And she screamed. right? And she screamed, she made noise, she wanted a witness. And I say that to say this, right? A lot of times our sisters will speak out, our children will speak out about the abuse and the, the abuse and the neglect and the just the evil things that happen to them, and no one believes them, right? Sometimes there's been many stories, right? If you go, there was an amazing episode of Cross the Line Radio last week where they were talking about all the child abuse that happens, and brothers and sisters were coming up with stories, right? Now, this happens to brothers as well, but right now we're focused on the sisters. A lot of times sisters will go to their parents and or their mothers, right? Especially if the mother is a single mother, and tell their mother, I was abused by your boyfriend, or I was abused by our uncle, or whoever, whichever male was close enough to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? And no one will believe them. And good night, especially if it's a pastor. If it's a pork eating pastor, you'll tell the whole congregation, and the whole congregation will look at you like, why are you lying? Why are you being so evil? Right? Destroying that sister. That sister, she's already been destroyed. She's already going through it, and then you don't believe her, and that makes the situation worse. Right? That makes the situation worse. Give a shout out to Sarah, the daughter of Zion, and Zebulon by blood, throughout for tuning in. Shalom. Right? Like, subscribe, and hit the channel. If you're interested in joining the school or getting a Hebrew name, hit that sign-in link for credit, right? And if the sign-in links aren't working by chance, just raise your hand. I will mark your name down and give it to my camp leader, right? So a lot of times the victims aren't believed, right? And that's why you gotta, if someone's trying to abuse you, you gotta fight to the death. You gotta scream out. You gotta make a report of it right away. Don't wait for so long, right? Don't now. There were countless people who came out against Bill Cosby, but we can't tell if it's true or not, right? Bill Cosby did admit to giving women drugs in a time when everybody was doing something else. That doesn't excuse him sleeping with the oppressor's daughter, right? That's what happens when you sleep with the oppressor's daughter. Now, we don't know if Bill Cosby did this or not. The Lord is going to judge that man. But when something happens, make a report about it right away. Do not wait. The longer you wait, the more likely somebody who doesn't care about your well-being, your mental health, or your physical health is gonna act like you're not telling the truth. For example, go on Cross the Line Radio, the channel again. You'll see a conversation with Captain Tazaria and a brother who battle raps named King Lotes, right? And he's sticking up for the that I don't know if he's a brother or not, so I'm gonna just say a man. He's sticking up for a man by the name of Polite, who was charged with raping, with sexually abusing a 14-year-old. The police say they had DNA from this brother on the child and on her clothing. Now, the conscious community loves to talk about DNA. They're trying to act like the DNA doesn't matter in that situation, right? And everybody's acting like everybody's forgetting the most important person in this whole situation. Whether Polite did it or the mother is lying, there is a little girl who's traumatized, right? She's the victim. So that's we're gonna go into the rest of the history of Susanna. She went from being the victim to the victor. She was a righteous sister. She decided, I'm not gonna let you get away with this. I'm going to scream. I'm damned if I do, and I'm damned if I don't. So we're gonna start. Salakia, do you have your apocrypha with you?
Khan, what Khan?
Can you get the history of Susanna?
I got it right here, other one. But Salakia, your sound is a bit low.
My sound is a bit low. Let's see. Maybe we can fix my mic. Like that. Testing, testing. I'll try to speak a little louder. Right. If the sound is a bit low, if you're having problems hearing and you're watching, just let me know. I'll definitely from here on out try to speak a little bit louder. Right. Damn, I just took a sip of some really good whiskey. Right. It's not unlawful to drink. Just drink in moderation. Do everything in moderation. Right. You don't want to be a drunk. You don't want to be a person that doesn't remember what happened last night, especially for our sisters, right? Drink in a safe place, preferably drink in your house, right? Drink around people who you know love you, who will protect you, because you don't want to be intoxicated and not able to defend yourself, right? Especially if you're a sister that goes out and goes to bars or goes to restaurants, you want to be able to drink in moderation, right? But I just took a sip of this whiskey. Ooh, it almost went down the wrong air hole. Salakia, right? So, Salakia, get me Susanna. We're gonna we'll backtrack for a little. Start at 2022, Baba Kashan.
So, okay, did you say 23?
22, Baba Kashan.
Khan,
We're
Khan.
gonna backtrack just a little. Officer Shariwan, water for tuning in. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shadrach. You can start at 22.
This is the book of Susanna, chapter 1, verse 22. Then Susanna sighed and said, I'm straitened on every side. For if I do this thing, it is death unto me. And if I do it not,
right? So Susanna sighed because these men told her that if she doesn't sleep with them, right, if she doesn't commit a sin, she doesn't step out on her husband, that they're going to tell everyone that she was with a young man, right? She sighed and she basically said, if she does it, it's death. She knew that this thing was death, right? That if she does it, they're going to be straight taking advantage of her for a long time. And the second she wants to stop, they're going to try and tell everybody and make up some rumor. In the Bible, back in the time of antiquity, when we had our kingdom, you needed two witnesses, right? And these are two judges, two respected judges, two powerful people, just like your imam, just like your politician, just like your boss at work, just like your pastor, right? Someone of authority, right? Keep reading. Salakia, I guess we lost Barakia Olive for a second. He'll be back with us, right? So I'm going to take it from there and keep reading. For if I do this thing, it is death unto me. And if I do not, I cannot escape your hands, right? They were going to, again, turn around and say that she was with another man, right? Verse 20, it is better for me to fall into your hands and not do it than to sin in the sight of the Lord. All right, Barak Yahweh is back. Let's get it right. You always want to never sin against the Lord, right? If you gotta fight to the death instead of eating pork, or you gotta be tortured like the seven Maccabees brothers instead of eating pork, right? Instead of eating that swine on the altar, right? Die. Go through it. The Lord is gonna judge you. He's gonna bring you back in a stronger body, right? Now I know that sounds like, what the hell did this man just say? This man said, instead of giving into the predator, you're telling me I gotta fight even if I might die. That's exactly what I told you, right? You don't want to go into the hands of the predator. You want to fight to the death. It'll be a glorious death. You'll die the way the Lord intended you to, right? And then the Lord's going to make an example, a terrible example. They called our power the terrible power. He's going to make a terrible example of the people, of the perpetrators who came up against you, and make your story wonderful, right? He's going to bring you back in a stronger body, and it will be glorious, right? So she knew that she wasn't supposed to sin against the Lord, right? That's most important. Never sin against the Lord, right? She knew that if she falls into the hands of 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 the predators, that the Lord would eventually reward her for it, right? She knew that these men might try to kill her, right? Or they might just do what they said, where they said they were going to turn around and tell everybody that she was sleeping with another man, right? So, like, can you read verse 24?
Khan Wakan. Susanna chapter 1, verse 24. With that, Susanna cried with a loud voice, and the two elders cried out against her.
Right. So Susanna cried out with a loud voice, right? Susanna basically went to the authorities. Susanna went to the authorities like the woman who went to the authorities for her daughter against play, right? You gotta always go to the authorities. Listen, tell your brother, tell your father, tell your mother. If that doesn't work, tell somebody. Tell the whole world what's going on, right? Make sure that we know that this person is a predator. Don't it's better to tell somebody that this person's a predator, because in you doing that, right, you're eventually you're going to be able to receive counsel for it. It's going to be a weight lifted off your chest, where rather than 20 years from now, 30 strip clubs from now, you're sitting back saying, listen, I should have told on my uncle, right? I should have told on that pastor. I should have told on whichever man and or whichever woman that was molesting me or abusing me, right? It will be a massive weight off your chest, right? Da, 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 da. So these Susanna cried out, and these two sick men, right? These two unrighteous men, they thought they were going to do the same thing. They thought they were going to cry out as well, right? That 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 they should have never looked at Susanna lustfully. They should have seen her and said, "That's a beautiful sister. Listen, Joachim, he got a good one. Keep it moving. That's not your property. That's not your woman. You don't go after her and say, I wonder what it's like to sleep with her. Right? That's what they did. They let their imagination build up over so long, where eventually this is what always happens. It always happens. You see a sister with that, you know she has a husband. You damn well know she has a husband. And you're, damn, that sister's pretty. I want to talk to her, right? But she has a husband. Now, instead of moving away from that sister, if your right hand offends you, cut it off, right? Instead of moving away from that sister, instead of not being around that sister, you keep going around that sister, and you keep going around her, and eventually you're going to say, hey, sis, may I get your number? Or you're going to try and do what these men did, right? What do we got? Let's get 25 over to shop.
Khan Wakan. Verse 25. Then ran the one and opened the garden door.
26.
Verse 26. So when the servants of the house heard the cry in the garden, they rushed in at the private door to see what was done unto her.
Right. So Susanna cried out, and one of these sick men decided to run to the door. They ran to the door to open the door, right? To make it seem like he was justified in what he was doing, right? Keep in mind, this sister is bathing. Why are these two men in the vicinity of where she is bathing, right? The servants came in, and read that one more time.
So when the servants of the house heard the cry in the garden, they rushed in at a private door to see what was done unto her.
Right. So they heard Susanna crying, and they wanted to find out what's going on with our sister. Right. Read.
Verse 27. But when the elders had declared their matter, the servants were greatly ashamed, for there was never such a report made of Susanna.
Right. Susanna was a righteous sister. There was never a rumor about her, never a report about her, never anything said about her where it's like, damn, she might be promiscuous. She might be an adulterous, unruly sister. Hey, Shalom, Aki, how about Shemir Shabbat?
Shalom Adawan wa Akim Yabashim
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
So I have to tune in Officer Shariwan.
Khan, sir.
Right. So there was never a report made about Susanna where you would have to think about, I wonder what she's doing. Is she with another man right now? That never happened. Never, ever. Right? You can read verse 28.
Verse 28. And it came to pass the next day, when the people were assembled to her husband Joachim, the elders came also full of mischievous imagination against Susanna to put her to death.
Right. So because now then it gets worse. Right? It gets worse. Because Susanna didn't want to sleep with them, they decided to put her to death. Right? That's what their imagination told them to do now. These men were not righteous men. They should not have power. There's many people in the nation of Israel, amongst blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They have power and authority, and they shouldn't have power or authority. A lot of them the Lord should be putting them to death. Right? The Lord is suffering long with these people. Right? Where are we at? 29 said, and the people said, Salakia. Right? So these men came to put her to death, and they turned around and said before the people that Susanna, they wanted to send for her, right? Because now she's about to go through trial, right? She's about to go through a council, right? You could read You can read 31, right? When you read 30, you'll find out that she came with her whole family, right? She knew she was innocent. She came with her whole family, right? You can read 31.
Kanawakan, verse 31. Now Susanna was a very delicate woman and beauteous to behold.
Right? So again, like we were saying earlier, Susanna was a very beautiful sister, right? Her beauty was like just now think about it, man. You walk down the street every day, you see so many beautiful sisters, right? You see tons of beautiful sisters all the time. Salakia.
Shalom, so Yabashim Yashabbat.
Hey,
Yeah,
Shalom,
Yabashim Shabbat.
we almost got it's a good Monday in the history class. What's going on, Trooper Safam?
Not much. Finally got a schedule change, so I'm be here more.
Most High Christ. Now we missed you the last couple of camps, right? Like hopefully we can see you again, man. I'm trying to like before camp season's done, we try to see you again, huh?
Okay.
Yeah, let's get to it, man. We're going in on the history of Susanna. Akim, if y'all have anything you want to add, if you're familiar with the history of Susanna or on the topic basically is unrighteous men who try to abuse our sisters. They try to abuse our sons, right? There's a whole bunch of predators within the world, right? Shamefully, there are predators within the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community as well, right? And that's what we're talking about, right? You can read 32, Trooper Barakiala.
Verse 32. And these wicked men commanded to uncover her face, for she was covered, that they might be filled with her beauty.
Right. These men are still being like, they're just so full of lust that even at the trial, they're trying to get a glimpse of her. Now, just imagine, you're setting a sister, well, not you, right? But two men are setting a sister up for death because she's very beautiful, very attractive, and she won't be a woman that's for the streets, right? She won't be a piece of garbage and sleep with them. She's not trying to sleep with another man on her husband, right? So she turned these men down. She actually agreed to initiate whatever she's going through right now, right? And at the trial, they still want to try and glimpse at her beauty, right? They're telling everybody to make her uncover her face, right? There's now when I think of these judges, there's a meme, right? A little video that's out where a brother is saying, "Sir, get me that creature." And in the meme or the video meme, whatever you want to call it, he's sweating, right? That's how these, and he just looks like he just like filled with lust when you watch like the first Salakia. The first video I seen it was kind of disgusting. It was now it's a meme, but it's one of those videos that's suggestive, right? And you can see that this man is in this video. He's supposed to be filled with lust over some creature, right? And that's how these men were acting. They seen her and they were still filled with lust, and they still wanted her to uncover her face so they could merely glance at her beauty, right? Before they put her to death, they wanted to merely glance at her beauty. Right. For all who's watching, don't forget to hit that signing link. Shameless plug. Black Watch News tonight, 9 p.m. Check it out on YouTube. Black Watch News. Commanding General Yohanna is going to be live with the heavy hitter. You don't want to miss it. He always has a heavy hit program going on. Right. Uh, Trooper Susanna, do you have your apocrypha with you?
I could get it right away, sir.
All right, you get it for us. While we wait for you to get it, Trooper Barakat Allah, you can read 33. Follow the shot.
Khan Khan, verse 33. Therefore her friends and all that saw her wept.
Right. So her friends and all that saw her, they wept. They knew if this goes left, they might lose their loved one. Right. Now, her family knew she was innocent. Right? Her friends are weeping for her because, again, like it said earlier, there was never a report of Susanna being a woman that's regarded as trash, right? Sisters, if you have a husband, do not sleep with another man, right? Sisters, in the truth, you already know that doesn't have to be explained to you, but this is for the sisters in the world who just might come across this video, right? You don't want to sleep with another man. You have a husband, stick with that one man, right? Unfortunately, a lot of times our sisters they don't have the proper guidance, right? They don't have the men of the I.S.U.P.K above them teaching them, right? To before you sleep with a brother, get to know that brother, right? Find out what his moral conscience is. Find out what he believes in. Go check his family. Find out his history, right? A lot of times it's damn that man drives a Benz. What is that? A Cadillac? Oh, he on a motorcycle. He got some jewelry and some money, and he bought a whole bottle of Hennessy for $300 in a pub. And now she's in his room doing Lord knows what, and he doesn't call her the next day, or they attempt some relationship and it just doesn't work out because now you're realizing you have a monster who doesn't care for you, who doesn't love you, he's not willing to guide you, he's not willing to protect you. Sisters, you gotta learn that man before you give him that precious jewel that you have. Right? Treat your body like a temple, right? That's what Susanna did. She had a righteous man. She was a righteous sister, right? Bro, Satham, are you ready?
Count one cancer.
Right. We're in history of Susanna. You could read from verse 34. Right. And a lot of times, whenever you got it, you could read, right? Before you do though, a lot of times we have men who are looked at as, listen, the whole world looked at R. Kelly like he was, like, this man can do no evil, right? He's been letting us know what he was about, right? He's been letting us know. He married Aaliyah at such a young age, right? She shouldn't have been even in the same room with this man, right? Even on a song, when you go back through the archives of the R. Kelly music, that man, he's responsible for a lot of babies being born with that music he was making, right? A lot of sisters were getting seduced by his music, right? And then there are children that are being abused, right? Like, now Salaki, there's a video of him abusing some young woman, right? This man in the archives of his music, he's singing a young Aaliyah's got it. What the hell does she got? Right? What the hell did a young Aaliyah got that R. Kelly noticed? Right? He shouldn't have noticed it. Right? And that's what happens. We have people in power, people who have money, famous people of our people, right? As well as every other culture, right? They're straight up predators, right? Now R. Kelly's going to try to make the excuse of he was abused as a young boy. That happens. A lot of times that happens, right? For our brothers and sisters who get abused, man, it's a terrible thing. You're down there killing them. You are better off killing them than abusing them, because now they're gonna go through a world of either promiscuity, right? They're gonna go. Did I even say that right? Salaki. I don't even know if I said that word right. I think I made that up, right? They're either going to be promiscuous, they're going to be a predator themselves, or they're going to turn to drugs to try to numb that pain, right? So Thumb, you could read from 34.
Count one Susanna 1 chapter 1 verse 34.
Yeah,
Then
you
the
don't have
two elders.
it's just Susanna, because there's only one chapter, right?
Count one verse 34. Then the two elders stood up in the midst of the people and laid their hands upon her head. Verse 35. And she whooping looked up towards heaven, for her heart trusted in the Lord. Verse
Yeah, hold
36.
that right there. Hold that right there. She
Count
trusted in the Lord. That's why she screamed. That's exactly why she screamed, because she trusted in the Lord, right? She kept the law. She knew the Lord was going to protect her, right? Da, 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 da. So now the two elders, they begin to give the story of what happened. You could jump down to Salakia, read 36. We're just gonna go
one
precepts. It might seem like we're
Count
reading
one
a lot of precepts, but this is an interesting story. We might jump some precepts, but you could always go back and read it on your own. But this is definitely a story that needs to be read. It needs to be shared in the earth. So sisters, know that when someone's trying to abuse you, scream, fight to the death. We're going to make sure that person pays for it. The Lord is going to make sure that person pays for it. Anybody who comes into this school who thinks they could try to abuse a sister, good night. You rather slide down a razor blade slide, straight up and down. You rather put gasoline draws on and walk through fire before you think you could abuse any of our sisters, any of our sons, any of our children. Right? Let's get Slaki. What were we asking for?
Susanna verse 36. Susanna verse 36. And the elders said, as we walked in the garden alone, this woman came with two maids and shut the garden doors and sent the maids away. Verse 37.
Hold that.
Then a young
Hold that for devious lie, right? The devious lie, the wicked imagination that these brothers came up with. They have to go back and get that story correct. They went back after this, right? Before this trial, before this council, they said, listen, how are we gonna say this? Listen, let's just say she came in, right? She decided to shower. She had a brother hiding in the garden. She sent her servants away. That's what they were coming up with. Read.
Verse 37. Then a young man who there was hid came up unto her and laid with her. Verse 38.
They turned around and said, a young man who was hid in the garden started to sleep with her, right? In their mind, they wanted to sleep with her. She turned down her advances because she's a righteous sister. A righteous sister, you listen, you walk up to a sister and now sometimes sisters might say they have a man, and they don't have a man. They just don't want to talk to you. They just want to say it nicely, like instead of telling you no, right? They don't even want the chance of being seduced by you, right? They'll just tell you I have a man, right? A righteous sister, you walk up on her and she indeed has a husband, she will say, I have a man, right? That's what happens. That's what Susanna would have did, right? She would tell you, I have a man. No, I have a head. I can't, right? An unrighteous sister is going to say, well, he's not here. You could take my number, especially if you pull up in somebody name a nice car.
A Benz.
A Benz, right? So they pull up in that Maybach Benz with the stars, those little lights that they put in the ceiling to mimic stars. The sister sees that, and an unrighteous sister sees it, and she just wants to jump in the car, right? She just wants to become your rib right in the car, right? That's an unrighteous sister who she learned that from her mother. She probably never had a father, right? Salaki, one moment. Right? Where were we now? Like a unrighteous sister sees something shiny, and she's ready to throw her whole world away. Right? Let's read 38.
Susanna, verse 38. Then we that stood in the corner of the garden, seeing this wickedness, ran unto them. Verse 39.
Hold that right there. Hold that right there. Right? So this sister's in. Okay, so as I was explaining earlier for the troopers who weren't in, right? In the times of our antiquity, we had a kingdom, we'd have a nice property, right? You wouldn't have a running water in the house. It wasn't like pipes and running water, but you would have a pool, some type of pond, some type of garden, some type of flowing river on your property. Or you would go down to the river and you would clean yourself, right? So Susanna, in this story, she's in her garden. Her husband's rich. He's wealthy. He's well off. He's a well-off brother, right? They have a garden, a beautiful garden with a pool that she takes her baths in. The pool has doors. It's walled. The servants go outside. She does her thing in the pool, comes back out. The servants give her whatever she needs to dry off in the oils or whatever spices that she's going to make her smell beautiful, right? So these men are saying, keep in mind, this is a private garden. These men are saying, they're in the garden while, Salaki, I'll just read it one more time.
Susanna, verse 38. Then we that stood in the corner of the garden, seeing this wickedness, ran onto them. Salakia.
Right. So Salakia, troopers of thumb. What break that down to me, right? Break down to me what just happened, what you just read.
They're sitting in a. If I imagine if a woman's taking a bath in the garden, it should be a private garden. I don't know why they should be in the garden. So they're in the
Give
garden.
that man a hand. That is a treat instinct, right? You caught it right away, right? You can continue up. Salakia.
Slakia, sir.
No, I say you can continue to give me your breakdown on that situation.
So being in a private garden, I don't know why these men should be able to see. So supposedly they're in the garden, they see her, and they see a man that came out of nowhere, and she's having intercourse with this man. But it would not make sense because it's a private garden. I don't know why they should be there.
Right. Damn right. That's heavy, right? Now, the backstory on these men are judges, right? They're not even supposed to be there, but they've been watching this sister secretly, spying on her, being a creep, a total predator, right? A peeping Tom. That's what they would call him in the world, a peeping Tom. That's what this man was being, right? He was being a peeping Tom, seeing this sister. They seen this sister showering, advance denied. Now the story, right? So they're saying, read it one more time. Let's get to the bottom of this.
Susanna, verse 38. Then we that stood in the corner of the garden, seeing this wickedness, ran unto them.
Right.
Verse 39. Verse 39. And when we saw them together, the man we could not hold, for he was stronger than we, had opened the door and leapt out. Verse 40.
You jump down to 41.
Verse 41. Then the assembly believed them as those that were the elders and judges of the people. So they condemned her to death.
Right. So these liars, right? These evil men turned around and said, well, we are spying on this sister. And listen, we seen her sleeping with someone while we were spying on this sister. And we tried to grab the man, but he was just too strong for us. Right? Now the crowd, this is what happens, right? A lot of times there's respect of persons. Right? The whole time Bill Cosby was going through this situation, you had damn near every black person come up with every conspiracy you could think of, right? He was trying to buy CNN. He was just too powerful. They just wanted to destroy a black man, like acting like as if like there's no predators in our community. Why, damn near, why do you think majority of our sisters are? Listen. Now, I'm not telling you to go to a strip club. Never go to a strip club, right? Because when you go to a strip club, you're saying you support child abuse, right? Now, with that said, if you ever meet a sister who does that I can't even call it a profession, but you meet a sister who's in the clubs taking off her clothes for money, you have a conversation with her. I'm going to say 7 times out of 10, you're going to find out that she went through some type of trauma in her life. Right? Some type of abuse. Right? And that's what happens. They go through some type of an abuse. Right? And the people who are in power, they're always believed as if they're right. They're always believed as if, listen, this person could never do that. Right? As I said last week, Polite, the way people are sticking up for Polite, you would think he was trying to buy BET, right? He was trying to buy BET, and they're going to come up with 1,000 excuses. Well, the mom just had enough of him. She didn't want to be with them. What? They're not going to speak on that DNA. That DNA, the police said the DNA was on that little girl, right? Where are we at now?
Verse 32, other one. Verse 42, Salakia.
42. Right, so this crowd, they condemned her to death. They had respect for person. They said these judges can never do that. They condemned her to death. Right? Read 43 while it's shot.
Susanna, verse 43. Thou knowest that these have been, that they have borne false witness against me, and behold, I must die. Whereas I never did such things as these men have maliciously invented against me. Verse
Right.
44.
Hold that right there. Officer Shalom,
Come.
Brother Bashar, can you get me the 7 things that the Lord hates?
Come, sir.
Right? 7 things the Lord hates. Right? We're gonna find out what the Lord hates. Right? You could drop it whenever you got it. Right? Trooper Satham, read that one more time.
Welcome. Susanna, verse 43. Thou knowest that they have borne false witness against me. And behold, I must die, whereas I never did such things as these men have maliciously invented against me.
Trooper Satham, get me the definition for malicious, Brother Bashar.
Welcome.
Right? Okay, all right, you could go and hold Susanna 44, verse 44 for me. Just hold it for me, Brother Bashar. Right? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this. Everyone who's watching, like, subscribe, and share this. Right? Also, Commanding General YAHANNA will be live tonight. Blackwatch News, blackwatch.news is the website. You can go and catch all the videos, all the stuff that is too hot for YouTube. Right? All the truth that YouTube doesn't want to play. Right? YouTube, just to get away, not to get away from the subject, because it's a very heavy subject that we're talking about. YouTube will let brothers go on YouTube and talk about killing each other, right? If a brother goes on YouTube and makes a rap song, a trash, garbage, not lyrical. Listen, I don't know anybody more lyrical than the men above us, man. Have you ever heard of Captain Todd 144 the Rebel? What about Captain Katazar? Even Karak Ice, Natazar, right? Salaki, I'm forgetting. King Todd, Captain Todd War. Have you heard of those men? Those men got bars. They're spitting that ether, that fire, right? Listen, I was playing some Captain Akkad in my car one day, and I think my car started to overheat. I think I was playing Captain Akkad one day, and I'm driving, and my car starts to tell me your coolant is low. There's no more coolant in the car. And I said, what? Wait, how is my coolant done? I just chalked it up to music, right? Well, let's get back to it. I need that 7 things the Lord hates.
Come, sir. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, and verse 16. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. Verse 17. A proud look, a lying tongue.
Hold that right there. And what?
A lying tongue.
A man who tells the truth.
A lying tongue.
A man who tells blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you are the children of Israel.
A lying tongue.
The Lord hates the Pharisee judges and your pastors, right? A lying tongue. That's too odd, right? That's too odd. Troopers of thought. Can I get that verse one more time?
What verse is that?
I needed 43.
43. Susanna, verse 43. Thou knowest that they have borne false witness against me.
A lying tongue. They bore a lying tongue against a righteous sister, right? They're going to have to pay for this. Do not lie on your brother, right? Do not call your brother a liar when he's not a liar, right? You gotta be in the truth. You gotta be in the truth. The Lord hates a liar. Why the hell are you lying? Listen, I don't even lie to my woman at all. lie. There's no point to. Listen, if I gotta lie to my woman, that means I'm not a man, right? You don't want to be lying at all, right? All right, Baraki Allah, read that one more time. It's not Salaki. Trooper Satham.
Khan.
Read 43 one more
Militia.
time.
Salaki, sir. Susanna, verse 43. Thou knowest that they have borne false witness against me. And behold, I must die. Whereas I never did such things as these men have maliciously invented against me.
Right. Do you have the definition for malicious? Maliciously
Kana
or
wakan.
malicious?
Maliciously, adverb, in a manner characterized by malice or ill will with intent to do harm.
They intended to do harm. They invented a whole situation, a whole narrative that was going to get this sister stuck together. Right? Baraki Allah, Baba Kashad. Can I get verse 44?
Kawakan, Susanna, verse 44. And the Lord heard her voice.
Right? The
Verse
Lord heard
45.
her voice. The Lord, He hears the voice and the cries of the innocent. Right? He hears the cries of the men and the women and the children who keep His law, statutes, and commandments. Right? What's that mean? You're at home celebrating your birthday right now, right? Obviously, I'm talking to everybody who's not in the truth, right? And even if you're learning you're Israelite for the first time, you are not supposed to celebrate your birthday, right? But those who keep the Lord's commandments, you're finding out that the Lord will hear your cries, right? The Lord, He doesn't hear the cries and the sins of the prayers of the sinners, right? He knows what's going on. He knows you're going through the curses. He knows it. He's the one commanding the angels to do it to you, right? But he ain't listening to your prayers, man. You celebrating Christmas and then you can't pay your rent because you spent all the damn rent money on a stupid tree, right? And some stupid gifts that the children are just gonna break up in 30 seconds. As soon as they open up the damn package, they're going to be playing with the toys, and then they're going to break them. They're going to leave them. And listen, now you're crying because you can't pay your rent. The Lord don't care. Struggle, right? If you wanted the Lord to care, you should have kept His law, statutes, and commandments, and not put no damn tree in your house. The tree's going to die. Like what type of cult activity? They say we're a cult, but people are putting Christmas trees in their houses. I just don't understand. Right? I see you guys got that incense burning. So
Kawakan.
I see y'all got that incense burning. Yeah, I can smell it through the computer right now. Listen, let's get back to it, man. Baraki Allah, Baba Kishak. Can I get 45?
Verse 45. Therefore, when she was led to be put to death, they raised up the Holy Spirit of a young whose name was Daniel.
Right?
Verse 46.
Read that one more time?
Who cried with a loud voice. Khan Wakan. Susanna, verse 45. Therefore, when she was led to be put to death, the Lord raised up the Holy Spirit of a young youth whose name was Daniel.
Right. So we're getting introduced to Daniel, right? We're finding out like this is what made Daniel who he is, right? This is when you read the book of Daniel. This is before the book of Daniel. This is you're finding out how Daniel became who he was, right? How Daniel became a excellent judge, right? The Lord, He put His Spirit on another brother, a young man who knew right from wrong. He knew how to listen. Okay, listen. You see how I just asked the troopers of thumb, what was wrong with that verse? And because the Lord's Spirit is on that brother, he got it right away. Well, listen, this sister is naked. taking a bath privately. Why are these men watching her? That's what's happening to Daniel, right? Let me get 46, Baba Kashan.
Select.
Rocket Allah, you
Select.
there?
You want me to read?
Can you repeat? I cannot hear your voice.
Khan, I wanted you to read 46, Baba Kashan.
Khan, verse 46. Who cried with a loud voice, I am clear through the blood of this woman.
Right. Daniel said, listen, y'all are
47.
about to commit a mistake, a sin. Y'all are about to murder a sister. This has nothing to do with me. I'm cleared of this. This sister is not supposed to be murdered. Right? That's what's happening. Listen, a lot of times you will know someone's doing some unrighteous judgment. Right? Now let's just give an example everyone can relate to. Right? You were in the world, you were with some unruly friends, whether male or female, you knew they were about to go do some bullshit. Excuse my French, right? You knew they were about to go do something funky that your parents are gonna damn near put the belt to you, right? And if you have a listen, man, if you were born in the 80s, a belt was the least of your worries. Good. Now you might get the frying pan. That frying pan might whoosh, and it's right through the kitchen. You got to duck, do the matrix on that frying pan, because you knew if you got caught doing whatever those people were doing, that frying pan was going straight through your head back, right? That's what's going on. You would look at your friends and say, "Listen, I'm not doing this. I don't want nothing to do with this." That's what Daniel said. He said, I'm not doing this. I don't want nothing to do with this. Read that one more time, Baba Kashan.
Verse 46. Who cried with a loud voice, I am clear through the blood of this woman.
Read.
Verse 47. Then all the people turned them to him and said, what mean these words that I spoken?
Right, right. Right. Sometimes you gotta duck like the Matrix, man. Like, listen, you grew up black, Hispanic, and Native American. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But check it out, right? He said he's cleared of the blood of this woman. Everybody looked at him and said, "What are you talking about?" Right? And that's what they turned around and said to him. They were shocked because they were fully committed to putting this woman to death because they believed these judges, right? It's just like your pastor. The whole congregation turns to that sister, to that brother, and said, "What do you mean, Salakia? Who's that pastor that said he hasn't thrown one stone yet at trying to act like he was David?" Damn. Salakia. You know what? There was a pastor who was accused of molesting young boys. He's a famous Judite pastor accused of molesting young boys. He turned around and said, "Listen, I haven't cast one stone yet." The whole congregation believed him. This man was taking young boys on vacations.
Salakia, sir. Is it TD Long? Eddie
Eddie,
Long, Salakia?
Eddie, yeah, it's Eddie Long, right? This man was taking young boys on molestations, right? I'm gonna call it, make up a word right now. It's called a molestation, where Eddie Long takes that young boy on a vacation and does ungodly things to him, right? That's what's happening, and the whole congregation is acting like this man could do no wrong, right? Were we? We're at 47, right? Bracket Allah, can you read 48?
Verse 48. So he standing in the midst of said, Are ye such fools, ye sons of Israel, that without examination or knowledge of the truth, ye have condemned a daughter of Israel?
Now check this out, right? A good counselor is he's going to examine the whole situation, right? This is why we just don't fly off the rails and say, listen, Polite did it. Now, we don't know if Polite did it or not, but the evidence, the DNA. Black man, stop telling people you're a Hebrew Israelite. Go take a DNA test and you'll find out you're African. Right? You go do that DNA test. The DNA test, the DNA test, the DNA test. Polite. The police are saying your DNA's on that girl's clothing and on her. The evidence, right? A good counselor goes through evidence. You got to investigate it. Now, I've never had to investigate an abuse of a sister, but the men above me who do this and who teach us how to be righteous counselors and righteous judges, they say it's one of the hardest things they have to do. It's one of the most hurtful things they have to do when they have to go investigate if this son was molested, if they were abused, right? Daniel's basically he's cutting the people right now, right? He's telling them, listen, how are you going to just convict this and y'all haven't even checked out the evidence yet, right? That's what he's saying to them. Right. Let me get Satham. Let me get 49.
Susanna, verse 49. Return again to the place of judgment, for they have borne false witness against her. Verse 50. Wherefore, Susanna, verse 49. Return again to the place of judgment, for they have borne forth false witness against her.
Now, break that down for me, Baba Shah.
If I understand it properly, they're saying return to where they say it happened because these men have borne false witness against her just to see what's going on.
Right. It's not really return to where it happened, but that place of judgment is in their mind, right? They're hearing the story and they're making a judgment call in their mind, right? It's like a brother comes up and tells you something and you don't know what the hell is going on. You just heard what the brother said, and now in your mind you're like, well, that man's a thief. He stole from me, right? Listen, the brother, no one stole from the brother. He just doesn't like that brother no more, right? Not to say that people don't steal, but you got to go back to that place of judgment, right? Go back to and examine and think about everything you just heard, right? That's what's happening. You always have to make sure you have righteous judgment, right? You always want righteous judgment, so you're not Salakia. And second, you want righteous judgment, so you're not just putting anybody to death, right? Let's get a precept right quick on righteous judgment. Let me go through my precept book real quick. Right. Okay, if y'all have anything you want to add to the topic, feel free. So, yeah. Alright, let's get it. One second. Let me get. Bear with me one moment. That one. Officer Shayuan, get me Leviticus 19 and 15, Brother Shah.
Come. It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 15. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment.
Right. You're not supposed to do any unrighteousness in judgment. All your judgments are supposed to be righteous. You're supposed to hear the matter. You're supposed to listen. A brother comes, a sister comes up to you and tells you something. You hear her side of the story, and you say, okay, but what about the other side of the story? Warren Star, give me one moment, and I'm going to take care of that question for you. Right? Keep reading.
Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor,
Read
nor
that
honor.
one.
Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor,
Read.
nor honor the person of the mighty,
Read.
but in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor.
Right. In righteousness shall thou judge thy neighbor. Just because that person has money or doesn't have money, that person has money, you don't be like, listen, they're rich. You got to give them that judgment. Right? That person doesn't have money, you don't turn around and say, listen, they're poor, man. We got to feel sorry for them. Right? Give me 16, Baba Kushal.
Come. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people.
Right.
Neither shalt
You don't want to be someone who just tells stories, who makes up lies and just runs with it. Keep reading.
neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor.
Right. 17, Baba Kushal.
Verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou
Right.
shalt
Hold that right there.
thy neighbor.
Hating you. Salakia. You can finish it. No, finish it. Just finish it up.
Come. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him.
Right. You giving unrighteous judgment is hating your neighbor, right? You're letting them sin because you won't, because listen, you know that person didn't steal, but you gave the judgment to to uh to your neighbor who you know stole. Like you made them right and the victim wrong, right? You're suffering that person's sin, right? King Solomon was a righteous brother, right? He had his slip ups, but he knew how to judge a matter. Two women were crying over a baby. He said, listen, give me that baby. He took his sword and said, cut that baby in half. The sister, who was the mother, said, no, don't do that. The sister, who wasn't the mother, said, okay. King Solomon said, give it to the one who said, don't do it. Right? That was righteous judgment. Right? We're gonna who was just reading for me? Trooper Satham?
Welcome.
Where were you? Where did we stop?
Susanna, verse 49.
Alright, put a bookmark in there for 1 second, right?
Welcome.
Hold that for 1 second, right? So I got a question in the chat, right? Hold up. I'm gonna put that question up for a quick second. Off the top, of what do you feel about dreads on women? Right? The water for that question, that was an excellent question, right? Dreads on men and women. If you're black, Hispanic, or Native American, and you are the daughter or the son of Israel, right? You're a prince or a prince of power. Don't wear those dreads, right? I'm gonna show you why. Right? Salakia, Officer Shariwan, can you get me So like I'm paraphrasing, but be not like the heathen nations. Right? And let's get
Speaking of the one, are you speaking about in Jeremiah? There's a couple. There's a couple that come to mind.
no, I think Jeremiah is the one where it goes into Christmas. There's another one. There's another one. One second. Let's see if I can find it. What's the other ones you have, Rod?
Salaki, the ones I'm thinking is in Deuteronomy chapter 6, I believe. And there's one in Proverbs that says, "Envy not thou oppressor."
Give me the Deuteronomy.
Come. Deuteronomy.
Right? So the history of dreadlocks, right? Where you put your hair into a knot and you let it just grow like that. That doesn't come from black people. Now I know black people, we rock it and we do the braids with it and we put the shells in it and we just make it. We anything that we do, even something unrighteous, we make it look good, right? But that's not our culture, right? Now I need someone to troopers of thumb. Bring me to the story of Samson.
Salaki, sir?
One second. One moment. Bring me to Samson in the Bible, which is Salaki. I think that's Samuel. I think it's in Samuel. It's in Judges, right? Get me Judges 14.
Salaki, I don't want to have the verse that I was thinking.
Come.
It was in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, starting at verse 13. "Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, and serve him, and shalt swear by his name." Verse 14. "Ye shall not go after other gods, of the gods of the people which are round about you. For the Lord thy God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth."
Right. That one's good. Give me the one in Jeremiah.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, and verse 2. "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen."
Right. You don't want to learn the way of the heathen. Braids is not our culture. Not Slovakia. Locks, right? Those dreads are not our culture. Right? Let me see if I can find braids in the Zonderlands. Troopers of thumb, bring me to braids are okay, right? So braids are okay because you could braid your hair and unbraid them, right? I'm gonna show you a brother in the Bible had braids, right? Trooper Satham, bring me to Samson. It's in Judges where they talk about Samson's hair, right?
I got Judges 14, verse 1. What verse you want?
One second. I'm gonna get to it. Officer Shaiwan, was that all of the precept?
Come, sir.
Come, do water.
And Slakia, sir, if I may add, the reason I brought up Deuteronomy 6 and verse 13 is because the origins of dreadlocks was the worship of Queen Shiva.
Right.
That goddess Shiva which was a god of, I believe it was a god of Elam. If it wasn't Elam, it was Ishmael.
Right. Can you bring up Baba Kishar? Get me a picture of an Elamite with dreads.
Come on, sir.
So I'm looking for 1 second. 1 second. I'm looking for Samson's 7 locks, right? Da, 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 No, it's definitely not 16. Bear with me 1 moment.
Wait, so like, so I think I got it. It's Judges 16, verse 13.
16 verse 13.
I don't know if that's the one you. So like, Elman,
Read it for me, Baba Kishar.
Judges chapter 16, verse 13. And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, I thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web.
Right. So Samson had 7 locks. Right. Now, a lot of people hear that and they say, well, Samson had dreads. Right. Now, Black, Hispanics, and Native American, do you want that on your head top? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Right. Salakia, 1 minute. Right. Do you want that on your head top? That, for me, the answer is la'ah. Right. Plus, that's not the way the Lord wanted you to to be like, right? Now, Officer Shariwan, you can get rid of that picture. I'm trying to
Come on,
find.
sir. I shared my screen. I'm not sure if you
Yeah,
can see it.
yeah, no, I see it. I just wanted it up for a second, just so we can see what we're talking about. Now, the black man doesn't wear his braid like that, right? He doesn't wear his locks like that, but he wears locks. Where is braids? Right? But again, locks is unlawful. Just like Officer Shariwan brought out, it was the worship of Queen Sheba, right? So the East Indians, they would meditate. Smoking weed is also from them as well, right? They would smoke weed. The locks are supposed to be antennas that connect to the earth, right? And that's where the culture came from. Right? But because the black man doesn't have a culture due to slavery, he thinks that that's the way he's supposed to wear his hair. Salakia, Office Trooper Satham, what was that verse again? It was Judges 16:13.
16:13, Salaki Adwan.
Right. I'm just trying to get the strong definition of that word. Lucky. I can't get it right now, but if you look up the word locks in the Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary, you'll find out that that word is braids, right? I'm trying to look up that word in the Strong's Concordance or the blue letter. Let's see if I can find it in the blue letter. not what I want. Right, give me a moment and I'm going to get back to it and I'll find it. But at the end of the day, a lock, a braid, the braids or the locks that they said Samson had, they were actually braids, right? A lock opens and a lock closes, right? If you have a lock that stays locked, it's not good. That's not a good lock, right? But Samson, he had 7 locks. Those were 7 braids, right? Officer Shaw, you want find me braids or locks in the Zombie Dance Victoria Dictionary, Bible Dictionary.
One more time, sir.
Right, and whenever you find it, let me know.
Slack, the other one. The word braid is not in the Zondervan's.
All right, no sweat.
The word slack, the other one, though. The word.
Can you find the Hebrew word for lock in Judges 16:13?
Sir, and I have the Zondervan's definition of locks.
Come on, let me get with you. No sweat, sis. Right? Like braids are lawful, right? Just for the official stance, braids are lawful. Dreadlocks, right? Dreads are that's not our culture, right? That's definitely not our culture, right? Those dreads, their origin is from the people of Elam, East Indians, right?
So, Salaki Adawan, if I may.
Come on.
The Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary, the definition of locks, it's in reference to the hair of the head. Locks render several different Hebrew words. In Numbers 6 and 5, the term indicates the unshorn and disavailed locks of the Nazarites. In Judges 16, verses 13 and 19, the braided locks of the Nazarite Samson.
What?
The braided locks of the Nazarite Samson. In Ezekiel 8.
That was perfect, right? Officer, I'll just show it right here. For everybody who's watching, you want to get you one of these, right? Let's see if I can get it to you. Right here, a John Advanced Pictorial Bible Dictionary. It'll help you with the definition of words that you might be struggling with, right? Read that definition one more time for me, Bubba Kashad. That was exactly what I was looking for.
Sir. In reference to the hair of the head, locks render several different Hebrew words. In Numbers verses 6 and 5, the term indicates the unshorn and disavailed locks of the Nazarite. In Judges 16 verses 13 and 19, the braided locks of the Nazarite Samson.
Right. So again, the locks that Samson had, they were braids. Right? They were braids. They weren't matted hair. Like when you grow dreads, your hair's matted. Listen, back in 2003, shit, Salaki, I'm pretty old. But back in 2003, I had dreads on my head. I come from a family of so-called Rastas. They had dreads on their head. I got tired of it. It itched. Sometimes I wouldn't. I'm a child. I don't sleep with the wave cap or the head wrap all the time. I'm waking up. My pillow is literally in my hair. Like, little lint balls are growing into the locks, into those dreads. I just got fed up. I said I want this out of my head. So I took like several days trying to pull one out. I ended up basically taking scissors to my head. My mom was angry, but I just said, listen, I ain't messing with it. I don't want that, right? And then I grew my hair and I got the same braids that Samson had. You want to see a brother with seven locks in his head, right? A lock opens and unlocks. That's what a good lock does. It opens and unlocks, right? A rusty lock stays locked. It's no good. You can't get what you secure, right? You just look at any brother with seven braids in his head. He has a straight back 7-piece, right? Most brothers they do the 8 because they're going uneven. They want 4 on each side, right? Salaki. I get dropping a little jewels on you, right? But we're gonna get back. I hope that answers your question, sis. If you have any other questions, you can always type them in. So there is a scripture breakdown going on right now, right? If you do have questions, I believe, let me find out. Hold up, one moment. Let me just check my YouTube right quick. Right? There is a scripture breakdown going on right now. I believe Indianapolis is running it, but you can find it on Israelites headquarters, right? You type in Israelite headquarters and you could find out. Salakia says, hey, are we allowed to eat oxtails? Listen, I'm about to go get some oxtails right now.
Yeah, right.
Animal. The ox is a clean animal. Salakia, Shariwan, find me where it tells us that the ox is clean. Listen, they gave us oxtails when we were in slavery. Listen, we made the best oxtails you ever taste. Oxtail is allowed to eat. You know what you're not allowed to eat? Pigtails. Right? You can't eat kangaroo tails or horse tails. Salakia. Well, listen, you just put me up to something right now, man. I was hungry. Listen, this class about to just now. I'm thinking about that. You know when a brother is rubbing his hands together is real. I'm thinking about those oxtails right now. I'm about to go get some. Right? Most High in Christ. Right? So
Salaki, I don't want to.
yeah, you drop that right quick. Then we're gonna get back into the history of Susanna. We're gonna fly through it right quick, and we're gonna wrap up this class. Again, the water for everybody who's paying attention, who's watching. The water, like you found something that's precious. Hold this truth dear to your heart. Don't let anybody talk to you about how it's not the truth, right? They don't want you to have your crown. There's a crown waiting for you in the kingdom of heaven, right? The kingdom of heaven is going to be on earth. We'll do a class on that sooner or later, right? But there's a crown waiting for you in the kingdom of heaven that the heathens are going to build for us when we have our captivity. Like you found it. You found your ticket to it, right? Officer Shariwan, whenever you have it, you can drop it. Let me know whenever you have it. We're going to continue. Trooper Safam, where do we leave off?
We're at Susanna. I read 49. We're at 50 right now.
Bo Kashad, give that. Read that 50, please.
Susanna, verse 50. Wherefore all the people turned again in haste, and the elders said unto him, Come, sit down among us, and shew it us, seeing God had given thee the honor of an elder.
Right. That was the worst thing they could ever do. They went to this young man who the Lord put the spirit on him, and they said, listen, show us what the Lord told you, since you're now an elder, young man. Right? You know how parents could do sometimes. They make you feel like, oh, you're trying to teach me something, right? Read.
Verse 51. Then said Daniel unto them, Put these two aside, one far from another, and I will examine them. Verse.
Listen, did you understand that? Somebody break that down for
them. So because how do I say, the elders slickly disrespected Daniel, Daniel said, okay, let's break it down. He separated both, put the women aside and the elders aside, and how do I say, got their confessions like the police do. They separate you into well, how do I say, two question rooms. They try to make you compare statements.
Right. Now, I like exactly how you said that, like the police do, right? Whenever the police murder us, they let the police huddle up to get their story correct. That's why, and even at the trial, the police are allowed to go. They're allowed to go and I don't even have my little notebook, right? But let's say this is the notebook. They go sit on the stand and they open their notebook back to the date and they read from the notes that him and the other police officers put together, right? But if you don't allow them to do that and you interrogate them separately before they get a chance to speak to each other, before they get a chance to write down any notes, you're gonna find out that, oh, so one person said, well, he had a gun, and the next person's gonna say, well, the gun was on the chair. And then the third police officer say, listen, I only saw a cell phone, right? But that the trooper was right. Daniel separated them and examined them. You want to get to the bottom of the story, separate the two people and examine them. Right? Officer Shayuan, do you have that verse?
Come on, sir. It's in Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 3. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth cud among the beasts, that shall ye eat.
Right? 1 second. Let's get to it. Let me get to it with you. Right? Break that down right quick, Officer Shayuan.
Come, sir. So let me pull that up in the Leviticus chapter 11 and verse 3. Whatsoever parteth the hoof and is cloven-footed and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that ye shall eat. And the definition of cud there, Salakia. When it says cheweth the cud, that's like chewing vegetation. It's like eating the grass or the vegetation that grows from the earth. Understand the
Khan.
Cud is more like
Trooper.
because it's more like because cows have multiple stomachs, so they throw up and they threw it again. They chew it again multiple times when it comes back out. So that's technically cud.
Right. That's definitely true. Right. They have like a in their stomach. They have multiple stomachs. They chew it back up, bring it down, chew it back up, bring it down. That process is literally breaking down the right. So you're not eating anything unclean, right? Now the ox has Officer Shaw, you want to read that precept one more time? Verse 3.
Whatsoever parteth the hoof.
Hold that right there. The ox has a parted hoof, right? And it cheweth the cud. You can eat that ox. You can eat the neck of the ox, you can eat the tail, you can listen, whatever part of the ox you want to eat, you can eat it. That's a clean animal. Right? 1 second. Let's see if there's any more to it. Slovakia. Slovakia. Give me one moment. I'm gonna find it. I was looking for a part where it said ox specifically. Right? But if you want to find out what's clean and what's unclean, go to Leviticus, the 11th chapter, and going to give you a list of all the clean animals and all the unclean animals, right? Whatever animal is clean, you can eat the animal. Whatever animal is unclean, you can't eat it. Ox is a clean animal. Listen, I love steak. Hook me up some steak with. I'm born in Canada. So hook me up some steak with some mashed potatoes and that A1. Listen, when you do it up that steak, put a little bit of that steak gravy on the mashed potatoes. We good to go. Listen, I'm a happy priest at that point. Give me just a shot of strong or two, and we're good. So yeah. Officer Shaw, you want a feast of first fruits? You hook up some steaks. Right?
God. God.
Listen, oxtails is one of my favorite food too. A lot of sisters. A lot of oxtails is one of my favorite. Let's give that sister a hand. Because oxtails is one of my favorite foods too.
So,
Right.
Salakia, I don't want to offend
Fine.
the verse I was more specifically looking for is the one that listed the animals. It's in Deuteronomy 14 and verse 4. It says, "These are the beasts which ye shall eat, the ox, the sheep, and the goat."
Right. Read that one more time.
Deuteronomy 14 and verse 4. "These are the beasts which ye shall eat, the ox, the sheep, and the goat."
Right. The ox, the sheep, and the goat. Listen. Now it's a toss-up. Now I might have to go get a half oxtail, half curry goat. Good night.
Boy.
Yeah, Officer Shayon, next time I see you, I got you. Don't worry, I got you. All right, we're kind of coming down on the time. Let's finish this out real quick. We might go over the time a couple minutes, but we got to finish this out. The water for the questions. Those were the excellent questions, right? Anytime you got a question, don't be shy. Type it in the chat, or you could go Thursday. We have a scripture breakdown on Israelites headquarters, right? Officer Shayon, drop the link for Israelites headquarters in the chat. Baba Kashaya.
Come.
Right? That's the channel where you will get the captains and the generals. They take all questions and they answer all questions. Right? If I don't have the answer to the question, I will get the answer and be back the next week, or I'll direct you to the Israelite headquarters channel. Friday is the class you learn Hebrew taught by Officer 50 Shariwan. Right? Trooper Satham, let's finish this out real quick.
Susanna, verse 52. So when they were put asunder one from another, he called one of them and said unto him, O thou that art waxed old in wickedness, now thy sins which thou hast committed, offer time are come to light. Verse 53.
Right.
For thou hast
so
pronounced.
Hold that for a second. When he put them aside, right? He put them aside. He got the full story. That's basically what that was, right? Everything was coming to light because now their stories aren't matching up, right? God, the general is live in Israelite headquarters right now. If you want to catch, you could go. If you have more questions, you can ask General. I believe it's General Mahayaman. Salaki, I'm not sure. I haven't checked. It's most likely General Mahayaman. Right, General Mahayaman. He's answering questions right now. He'll answer all your questions. You can always come back to this channel and finish it up. We're not going anywhere, right? We're here to build up Canada, and Canada will get built up. Brothers and sisters will be coming into this truth and learning their heritage. Right? Keep reading, Baba Kashan.
Verse 53. For thou hast pronounced false judgment and has condemned the innocent and has let the guilty go free. Albeit the Lord said, Salakia, the innocent and righteous shall thou not slay. Salakia. Verse 54.
Right. The innocent and the righteous. This was a innocent and righteous system. Some disgusting bastards. Salakia, excuse my French, right? But it gets to me every time I hear about someone who decide to take advantage of an innocent brother or sister, right? Salakia. Listen, just be lucky that I'm in this truth now and I'm able to make the right decisions, right? Because there was a time in my life where if I seen someone being bullied or someone being treated unrighteously, listen, I would just go off on them. And it usually got to hands, right? It usually got to throwing hands, right? And I didn't care. I was trying to hurt that person. But now, Commanding General Yohanan raised me up to give righteous judgment, to show love to my people, right? That's what he raised me up to do. But I don't have to go and just put hands on people. Now I know how to put hands on people with just my words, instead of physically putting hands on for someone. I know how to break someone down with just my words, right? And that's what you learn when you come into this truth, right? Keep reading. What was that? The end of
53. So, other one.
53? Read 54, Baruch Hashem.
Kana wakan. Verse 54. Then now thou hast seen her. Tell me, under what tree sawest thou them companion together?
Right.
So like I said, who answered under the mastic tree?
Right. One of them answered under the mastic tree, right? Trooper Baraki Allah. Can you read 55 for me, Baba Kasha?
Shalaki, can you repeat that one?
Can you, just the next verse, 55.
Kanawakan. Verse 55. And Daniel said, Very well, thou hast lied against thy own head. For even now the angel of God had received the sentence of God to cut thee too.
Right. So they found out that Daniel heard it and he said he's lying. He heard these guys are spying just like we heard it. We're like, yo, what the hell is going on? These men are lying, right? And he said the angel heard the judgment, and now you're about to get cut in two, right? Where we at? As you keep reading, right? Read 56.
Verse 56. So he put him aside and commanded to bring the other, and
Right,
said unto
hold
him,
that right there.
O thou seed of...
Salakia. We just want that part right there, right? So he put him aside, put the first judge aside, bring the other, right? Read 58, Baba Kasha.
Okay, you said 58?
Khan.
Kanwakan, verse 58. Now therefore tell me, under what tree did thou take them companying together? Who answered, under a holm tree.
And one said under a home tree, right? So first we had, right, under the mastic tree. And then we had under the home tree. So they were under two trees, two different trees, right? That was the lie, right? Read 59.
Verse 59. Then said Daniel unto him, Well, thou had also lied against thy own head, for the angel of God waited with the sword to cut thee in two, that he may destroy you.
Right. So they lied against their own heads. Now the angel of God is going to give permission for them to be destroyed. Right. Let's jump down. Read 56.
Salaki, I can't hear you, Adwan.
Salaki, read 60, Baruch Hashem.
Kanawakan, verse 60. But all the assembly cried out with a loud voice, and praised God who saved them that trust in him.
Right? So they all cried out and they said, praise God, right? And they were saved from taking the blood of an innocent sister, right? From facing the judgment of taking the blood of an innocent sister, right? We're gonna leave that right there. Susanna, she wasn't murdered, right? You got an apocrypha. These are the stories they took out of the KJV, right? Get yourself a KJV 1611. You're gonna get the stories they took out. That's a good story, right? This is a story all the children should read. right? All the sisters should read it, right? Whenever you're going through adversity, don't fear. Only fear the Father, right? Do what you have to do. If you gotta fight to the death, it's all good. We'll sing songs about you, right? We'll tell your story. We'll make sure whoever came up against you is punished, right? The Lord is gonna bring you back in a stronger body, in a stronger family, in the truth, right? That's what's gonna happen, right? You gotta understand that when it comes time to for your adversity, Salakia, I always say that word wrong, right? But when it comes time to battle, right? Battle with strength, right? Don't be afraid, right? Susanna wasn't afraid. She said just like Esther, listen, if I die, I die. They're gonna do it. There's so many sisters, right? There was a sister who walked into a whole camp of heathens. She got pretty, right? In the world you'll say dolled up, right? She put on her makeup, put on her jewelry, her fly garment, got pretty, walked into that camp and cut the head off of the general or the king for that heathen camp, right? A heathen army. Threw it to the whole army. She threw the head to the army. Hold that. The army got
Oh,
scared,
God.
right? That's how we were saved. There are many righteous sisters. The whole point is, sisters, you gotta be righteous, right? You gotta have morals, right? OnlyFans just reversed the decision to ban adult content, and now all the streetwalkers, all the internet, I'm gonna call it internet walkers, right? I'm on a roll right now. I'm making up words left, right, and center. All the internet walkers, that's a new term. She an internet walker. She on the internet getting naked for $2. Listen, I brought it up a couple months ago, right? The average sister getting naked on OnlyFans only making $200, straight up. You're only making $200, and all those screenshots, all those screen records. Remember, these cell phones, they screen record now. Don't think that's private. It's not private. The whole world is gonna see it eventually. Your son, your daughter is gonna see it eventually. Your grandkids are gonna see it eventually. What's on the internet never goes away, right? OnlyFans just decided to reverse their decision. Officer Bond just went live and he was just speaking about it. Go check it out. Share that video. Like that video. Share it to everybody, right? They reversed their decision. Why? Right? Why? Because they didn't care. They only act like they care. It's really about the money, right? So with that said, we're going to end this class. This has been another history class. To Water for tuning in. We got a brotherhood class tomorrow at 5 p.m., 5 to 7, taught by Officer 50 Shari Wan, right? The Water for the troopers that came in, I appreciated it. The Water Officer Shari Wan, right? Give another shout out to the chat, right? Let's give a shout out to the sisters that came in today that were watching this class. We got Salakia. Let me just get to the top. So shout out Born Star all the way from Cali, Princess Sarah Israel, right? Sarah daughter of Zion, Zebulon by blood, right? Shout out to all the sisters and everyone who's watching the water. Y'all are doing a good job. Show these women of the world what it's like to be a righteous sister, a sister with morals, right? That's what you do. Like a sister with morals. Listen, I'm gonna let you in on a secret, right? This is what it says in the Bible. If you add up all the rubies, all the diamonds, all the gold, every single printed piece of paper with a debt oppressor, and put it in one room, that is not worth one righteous sister. What I'm telling you is a righteous sister is worth everything, right? Righteousness is what we need, right? We need our morals back, right? Again, I'm Officer 500 Zabaja of the I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General YAHANNA, and we teach that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites of the Bible. I'm going to pass this class over to Officer 50 Shariwan. Clap it up.
So these are the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We're the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves with the world. They need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashra means tenth in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, freewill offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. We have the memorial of blowing of trumpets, which is on Monday, September 6th. You can find that in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. I believe it's verses 24 to verse 25. With that said, men of Israel, imagine, which means stand. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers and a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, Yahba Shemel Ashar Brakatham, Yad Yamatah, which means hands down. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, may Yahweh watch over these sisters in the name of Yahweh Shai, Yad Yamatah. Class dismissed.
Right. Tomorrow again, our scripture breakdown is going right now. And after scripture breakdown, Commanding General YAHANNA, hitters, Black Watch, news, right? Black Watch, hit your space bar, type news, it's on YouTube, blackwatch.news on type that in, that's the new website, isupk.com. Don't forget to pay your tithe, support the priests and prophets, because all this goes out to the poor. Again, shalom.